there's one that comes immediately, and everyone's going to go, "Oh, that's because you get a big solo at the end of it." But it's Here and Now. I love Here and Now, but and I love the song. It's not just, you could take something. I would still equally love the song. I think it's just a fantastic song. But there's another song. I think we last done it in 22. It Might As Well Be You. I think is a great song. It's probably one of my favourite Dale songs.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name's Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Welcome, everybody, back to The Hang here on Almost Famous Magazine. Super excited today as we've got an amazing guitarist, artist. He's been in some great bands, and he's coming to us all the way over the ocean while I'm here in Dallas, Texas. And I think it's great because we haven't been in the same room, actually, since he was in Austin, Texas, about a year and a half or so ago with Amitri on tour. So I'm going to bring you Kris Dollimore today. He has been, during his career, Kris has graced some of the world's greatest stages, played with international bands you probably know, starting with the Godfathers, but then the Damned. He's played with Dee Dee Ramone, Johnny Thunders, Adam Ant, and currently he is a member of Amitri, who have just finished up their summer tour. If you've not seen them in the last year and a half, 2 years, that they have like gangbusters pop back on the scene, you must check them out when they go back on tour this December, I believe it is. So I'm excited to dive in. So Kris, welcome to The Hang.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. This has been a little bit in the works, and the first time I think you and I were in touch was when Amitri played Phoenix a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's
you were opening up for the band, which I thought was brilliant. That was great.
That was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I was chuffed a bit. When they asked me to do it, they kind of, Justin said to me, he says, "How do you feel about opening up with your solo set? We weren't sure whether to ask you or not." And I'm like, "What? Are you kidding? Yes, of course I will. Yes. And at first I thought it was just going to be one or two shows, but it was the whole tour, and it was like, yeah, absolutely loved it. And I remember that Phoenix show. It was the second or third gig of the tour, and it was great. I loved the whole thing of it. Brilliant.
No, it was a beautiful night. I mean, that club was amazing. It was small. It was intimate. And look, I get it. Taylor Swift wasn't available to open for you guys, so they got the next best thing.
I don't mind Taylor. She gets a lot of stick, Taylor Swift, but she's all right. Controversially, I don't mind her.
Well, I always like to start off these conversations with kind of like where music started for you, right? I believe, if I remember correctly, and I may have the pronunciation wrong, you were on the Isle of Sheppey. Is it Sheppey?
That's
Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Sorry. A little isolated there on an island.
Not but really. I mean, it sounds like the Isle of an island, and it is actually an island, but it's not. It's about 50 miles away from London, so we're not far away from London, and it's kind of a there's the local joke of like we've got webbed hands because we come from the island and we're inbreds and all the rest of it. So there's a kind of like jokey thing about it, but it really wasn't at all isolated. We used to as kids sneak off up to London to see bands, and when I was 14, 15, Wilko Johnson from Dr. Feelgood was a big thing. Me and my mates used to sneak off and have a day and a night out in London, and so it wasn't that. It was it sounds like it's in the Outer Hebrides or something, but it really wasn't. It was
So not as
running
remote
water
as
and electricity. It was all right. Yeah.
Well, hey, you had to have some electricity to plug a guitar in. So let me ask you, growing up there, before you were able to get into London to check out bands, How did your association with music begin? Did music find you, or did you find music? And what started that passion to drive you toward that as a career?
Well, growing up in the 70s, it was just music, and pop music was always, it was always there in the house. It was like I had an older brother and I had an older sister, so they were into music. They would listen to the top 40 on a Sunday evening on the radio and what was number one. So it was always a special thing, watching Top of the Pops on the Thursday night. Um, so that was my sort. It was just there. There was never a point where I thought, oh yeah, music, that's it. That's what I want to do. It was just always there. And that was the same. My brother had records, my sister had records, and was always there. But I think the catalyst for it really was my brother played in bands. He was in school bands and stuff. So I would go and see their bands, and I think that's what sort of introduced me into it. And he kind of taught me my first few chords and what have you. And later on, we was in a band together, a pub rock band, and which was a lot of fun. But so yeah, it was just always there. There was never a point where I thought. I can remember the first things I heard on the radio. I kind of can. There was a song called Little Arrows by Leapy Lee, which was like, little arrows, little arrows, little. And yeah, that was one that I used to love that when I was 4 or 5 years old. And crucially, actually, I just thought of this. My father, he didn't own. Well, he did own the jukebox. He owned jukeboxes and leased them out to pubs and clubs. So what would happen is we'd get all the singles, the 7-inch singles without the middling, so we'd have to, it was a big round hole because the jukebox needed a bigger hole for the thing to go down. So 6 months later, we'd get the records of the hits 6 months previous, so it was, yeah, so that was and I remember having these big pile of records, and I used to love Yellow Submarine as well, playing that on a little record player. Yellow Submarine. I think Eleanor Rigby was on the B side. Was that correct? I don't know. I may be wrong on that one, but yeah. So music was just always around. Pop music. Definitely pop music. Not really classical music or jazz or anything like that, but yeah, pop music was big in our house. It was.
So how did that ultimately speak to your soul to say that to you, pick up an instrument and do it? Right. How did that bubble up inside of you in a visceral way to go,
yeah, good question.
I need to be doing it?
I think it was the classic thing of listening to Slade or Sweet, Blockbuster and playing a tennis racket or, with a hairbrush or whatever, you know what I mean? And going, yeah, it was kind of that. And as I said, when my brother started playing in bands, then there was these electric guitars. I remember just being so exotic, I mean, they're everywhere now. They were probably everywhere then, but I just remember them being like, you'd see, an electric guitar and just think, oh my God, what is that thing? It's just amazing. And then there was a neighbour as well who was I can't remember his name, but he played electric guitar, and I could hear him like he was. I don't know what he was into. He had really long hair, and but you could hear him wailing away, playing Black Sabbath or something. And I just remember hearing that and thinking, "Oh my God, what is that?" And just all this connection with this sound and seeing people with electric guitars was just amazing. But that connection of when I wanted to do it, I can't really think of that. I remember for my 12th birthday, I didn't know whether I wanted a guitar or not. For my birthday's right near Christmas, so it's 2nd of January, and I thought, oh, should I get a guitar? And it was just I thought of just getting a cheap acoustic, but my parents bought me a K, it was called, from Woolworths, and yeah, I wasn't really that serious about it, if I'm honest. I just thought, oh, so there was a book, play in a day or whatever, and it just it just took hold of me. It just I started to practice more and more. I'm like, once you can learn the chords and play the chords, and yeah, it just grew. It naturally grew. There was I can't think of any point where I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. It was, yeah, whether it was in me all the time or not, I don't know, but it was a very, very natural thing, and that stays with me to this day. I think, I don't want to jump ahead, but that definitely stays with me to try and be as natural and as organic as I possibly can. Definitely.
So when you say it was natural, were you able to figure it all out on your own, or did you end up taking any lessons? How did, do you have perfect pitch?
No, 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 I haven't got perfect pitch by no means. I've never had lessons, but because of, as say, my brother Ian, he played in bands that, the guys in that band used to show me odd bits, and Ian did too. He'd show me. First thing he showed me was Caroline by Status Quo. The riff down, down, and out. I don't know if you know it or not. They weren't that big in the States, Status Quo, but yeah, it was a riff, and I sort of learnt that, and then I started learning the chords, and and then what happens is you start sort of getting to be okay. I can do this, and then you start watching every little detail, whether it's on the telly, whether it's somebody, because we used, as a family, go and see my brother's band, watching every detail of whoever's playing fingers and what amps they're using, what pedals, just everything about it. You every single detail, because you had, obviously, there was no YouTube. You couldn't go back and study it. You had to take it in there and then, and it was like, and then go and try and do your own thing with it. So yeah, it was, as I say, it was there's I just can't think of a point where I thought, well, actually saying that there was, but I went to see the band Status Quo that I was talking about, and that was my first rock concert at Wembley Arena, and that blew my mind. That really blew my mind. Dark. It's a big venue, 5,000-10,000 or something. But yeah, the lights, the amps, the noise, the power. Wow, that really did that. And I think that was a catalyst of going, yeah, I want to do that. That's fucking cool, man. I want to do that. Yeah. So yeah, but that was a bit long. I was already playing by then. I mean, I got my first guitar in '78, which is the cover of my album, 2nd of the 1st, 1978. That picture on the front of my first CD was actually taken on my birthday with my first guitar. That is actually, yeah, and it's a great photo because you can see the box of the guitar, and but yeah, so I've been playing a while before it was '79, I think. I went to see Status Quo at Wembley Arena, and yeah, that really blew my mind. That did.
Yeah, well, they're actually they're actually gonna be here in Dallas pretty soon. They're on their last tour. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's
Oh
only
wait, no, not
Francis
Status Quo.
left.
Wait a minute. Wait, did I make a mistake? I think I made a mistake. Is it 10cc or
No,
Status
they do.
Quo?
He's still going out. Francis Ross is still going out. There's none of the original members other than him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's still. Why not? Why not? Why the hell not?
Hey, play as long as you can, right? I mean, as long as
Exactly.
you enjoy it, as long as the audience enjoys it, it's a joy for everyone.
Why
So
not?
your first band, if my research is correct, and if it's wrong, it has been. You let me know. Correct.
Yeah.
Feel free to correct me. Your first band was what? The Godfathers?
Well, that was the
The
first
proper?
sort of. That was my introduction into the music industry. My
Okay.
first bands were way before that. I was 19 when I joined the Godfathers. And but yeah, I got into bands. I mean, I started playing guitar when I was 12, and I was probably in bands by the time I was 13. Um, there was people kind of knocking. I remember just playing covers, in bars and clubs and all kinds of covers. All kind, and it was a brilliant education. With hindsight, it was a fantastic education. Some of the band names were Brandy was one of them, Sleepy Hollow, Tangent I think was one. Oh, yeah, loads of bands that were just the musicians would just sort of, go to one band to the next, and because they'd fall out, they'd have an argument, over a girlfriend or something, and yeah, then they'd go and play with some sort of so there were loads of bands before that, but then with I say with my brother and another guy called Paul Dutton, we formed, and Gary Miller actually, I must mention, who's a great singer. We formed like a pub rock band, playing kind of Dr. Feelgood, Nine Below Zero, just full on, in the vein of the Inmates and sort of Nick Lowe and that kind of thing. Just playing full on proper pub rock, and we gigged and gigged and gigged. We'd go anywhere, absolutely anywhere, and just play and play and play. And again, that was a brilliant education as well, because that was more of like what it would be like to tour. It wasn't like touring, but it was a good education. It was brilliant.
Did you feel like you'd made it at that point?
In some ways, sometimes I'll tell you when we think we used to try and get these gigs. We was always trying to get, into the marquee in London, but we never did. We did with the Godfathers, obviously, but with the Major Setback Band, it was called, and we tried to get these prestige gigs, but so when we got one like the Cartoon in Croydon was a a gig on the circuit, a real people who know will know the Cartoon in Croydon, and so you get a gig there, and then you feel like, yeah, I'm here, I've arrived, and it's just a shitty little pub, and it's but the Cartoon was a bit different. That was a special place, but yeah, I did used to feel that I've arrived. And I remember the first time I went in the studios, I'd to record songs, I'd think, oh man, they're gonna sign us up. They're gonna, just thinking somebody was there. I was so naive, honestly, Scott. I was so naive about the music industry, because you're just in your bubble, especially being in a band with my brother. It was just like, yeah, it's just your own little bubble. You know what I mean? It was, yeah, but it wonderful times. As I say, we gigged, and and we thought we was going to be massive and big, but yeah, it was great times. It was.
Well, so that was kind of like a pub rock, a little on the alt side type of thing, and then what was it, Brotherland, then the Damned, then Adamant, and I'm curious, because when you start to look at that arc of sound, right, the different genres, the way it makes me think that you were kind of at that point a bit of a musical chameleon, with the different genres you were performing in. Well, what's your favorite though? What is your, like, as an artist, you want to learn different styles and things, but what's kind of your comfort food music style, like the thing that feels like home when you like performing all those different types of styles?
The thing that, it depends. It's sort of changed over the years, but what I'm really most comfortable at playing, and I've got to say, I'm not just saying it because I'm in the band, but is Amitri. I just find it. I don't want to sound sort of flippant about it, but I don't have to think. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that it's not difficult, but it's like, it's just so, again, it's so natural. It's like, because I remember when I got, I don't know if I can jump ahead a little bit here, but when I got that job, I'd had loads of disappointments. So I hadn't worked. The Adamant had finished in '95, and I'd done a few sessions for, I think, a band called Republica and a guy called Lewis Taylor, and both of them said, "Oh no, we're going to get you in the band." And I'm like, "Yeah, great, yeah, I'm up." And it never happened. Then I got a call from Nina Cherry's manager, saying, "Oh, we want you to play, a couple of songs on." I thought, yeah, I'll do it. And that never happened. Then I got a nod from somebody who said Iggy Pop was looking for a guitarist, and they put my name. I'm like, yes, love to play with Iggy. Yeah, that'd be great. That didn't happen. And I was just like, honestly, I was so despondent. I really was. I was just like, man, I need a job. I need a gig. And then Justin Curry called out of the blue. Out of the blue. I was sitting in my front room. I lived in London at the time. And and I sort of knew of Amitri, but I didn't really know their songs or anything. And he biked round I was going for an audition the next day. They were going to fly me up to Glasgow, and they sent round these CDs of songs to learn. And I remember when I was learning these songs, I, less than a day to learn these songs for the audition. And I'm learning them. It's Here and Now and Not Where It's At and a couple of others. And I'm listening to them and I'm working them out. And I'm like, this gig's mine. I know this gig is mine. No one else is fucking having this. I know I can do this better than anyone. I know I can. And, and I wasn't cocky. I didn't go in there like, yeah, I'm your man. None of that at all. I like to think that I'm not like that. But I just like, this is my gig. I know it. I know this stuff. I know it. It's like, it encompasses everything that I grew up with, the Stones and, even elements of Dr. Feelgood and, the indie stuff, like I got into the Cure. It just encompassed everything, and I just felt that, that was it. But I've always had a broad taste in music. I just, I just love all kinds of music. So there's no real sort of genre that I feel. I love my acoustic stuff that instrument nowadays, but as I say, that it's changed over the years. It can change daily, to be perfectly honest with you. But but if there's a real comfort zone, the one that it is, it's playing the Dells music, and that it is.
Well, I want to dive more into the Amitri stuff, but
sure.
There's one thing that, and we'll put that off a little later because you've kind of given me some ideas here. Now, look, when it comes to Amitri, they have had some breaks, right, between releases, and during the time that you've been in the band, kind of what drew you to the idea of finally launching a solo career and recording solo stuff in between, as well as what drew you to the blues? Because that's where I'd like to make the connection, because all of these other genres you're playing, all this rock and roll, all this stuff, and then suddenly you're playing Delta blues. How did that all happen?
Yeah, well, just to add, there's an element of blues in Delamitra's stuff as well. It's most definitely there. But the blues has always been, sort of, as I say, the pub rock band that I had when I was a kid, when I was 14, 15, 16. And that was heavily influenced by blues music. Didn't really know it then, but as you go, you sort of like, and it was it's probably down to my all-time number one guitar player, which is Keith Richards. He is been there with me throughout it all. He's been like my rock, my North Star, definitely. He's just been there. And it was, massive Stones fan growing up, huge Stones fan. And still am. And it was reading interviews, because I obviously listened to his records, but then you'd read these interviews or see him being interviewed, and he'd mention these guys like Robert Johnson and John Lee Hooker, Charlie Patton, and I'm like, who are these guys? I love their music. I want to find out what where they come from. So it was kind of I went back and listened to. I remember buying King of the Delta Blues Singers by Robert Johnson. It was a reissue. It wasn't original, but I remember buying that thing because of Love in Vain. They covered Robert Johnson's Love in Vain, and I thought, oh man, I've got to listen to this guy. If Keith loves him, anyway, I'll get this record, put it on, and it's this scratchy old recording of like nothing like the Stones version of Love in Vain whatsoever. It's kind of the same lyrics, but and I'm like, if I'm honest, if I'm really truthfully honest, I didn't really get it. I was like, that don't sound like the Stones at all. That's absolutely nothing like, Brown Sugar or Honky Tonk Women, So yeah, but again, being honest, I sort of like, well, I've kind of got to like it. Keith, Keith and Mick, they're into this stuff, So anyway, I sort of listened to it and thought, well, I'll put it away in it, and I didn't sort of really get it out for another year or two or more probably. But in the meantime, with the bands that I was in, we was covering things like Boom Boom by John Lee Hooker, High Heeled Sneakers, and all this old R&B stuff, which is all derived from blues music, and so it gets to a point where you think, well, where does this stuff come from? You just get intrigued by it. You just get drawn into this world of like, where's it come from, and who's this guy, who's that guy, and again, a very natural process of just finding out where these songs and where these sounds come from, where these licks come from, and amazing, really amazing, to find out and think, oh, that's okay, that's where it is. That's John Lee Hooker who come up with that. Okay, brilliant, and so yeah, the blues music was there very, very early on, and and when sort of Amitri sort of folded, it didn't fold, but when it stopped working, in, when was it, 2002? Justin called me up and said, "Oh, we've been dropped by the record company," because I was never signed. Well, still am pretty much to this day a hired hand. I mean, I've been in the band for I don't know how long, but it's still on that basis. And I'm quite happy with that. We can get onto that if you like later on. But so he said, "Yeah, we've been dropped by the record company," and I'm like, "Okay, right, that's fine. We'll just get on and do something else." And I could tell that he just wanted to, take a rest from it and a break from it, and then I was a little bit despondent there. I was a bit down about it, and I was just like, and I just hated the music industry. I just hate everything about it, all the backstabbing and all the bullshit that goes on with it. And I just thought, I just want to get back to something real, And that's when I decided, right, I'm going to always love to start. And I love folk music as well. I love Bert Jansch and John Renbourn, all those great British folk artists, he's Scottish, I think, Bert Jansch and John Renbourn and David Graham. And I just thought, and I'm going to learn fingerstyle guitar, the finger picking that I just love to do these days. And I really worked hard at it and learnt it, and still learning. And I just wanted to get back to something really with no agenda, that was the thing, to have just to play because you want to play. And that was how that started, really. And I'll finish. I feel I could just talk for hours about it, because it is such a, I just love it so much, and it's so much part of me. And so I'll finish now and let you speak.
I mean, it sounds like you found the way to be as musically authentic to yourself as possible.
I think that's I think that's a fair assumption, really. I just can't do anything that I don't feel. I just can't do it. I mean, sometimes you have to do things in life. Obviously, you put on the mask and you go and do whatever you have to do. But when it comes to music, man, I just can't, because it's so ingrained in me. I can't deceive it, and it can't deceive me, And it's but there's one other guy as well that changed my life as well, and that's a guy called John Fahey, and or Fahey, however you pronounce it. I still don't know. But the first time I heard him, he absolutely blew my mind, and I remember I wanted to learn sitar. One of my harebrained schemes, and I found this sitar that I bought, and it needed restringing. And I lived in Medway, Rochester at the time, which is about 30 miles outside London. Anyway, I went up to London to buy these strings, 19 strings to restring a sitar, and I bought a few CDs at the time, and I read about this John Fahey. It's about 2001, I guess. I think he just died, and which was another thing. He was all in the press because he died. And I thought, I'll check him out, and I loved the titles of his albums. The Dance of Death and Other Plantation Favourites, and Old Girlfriends and Other Horrible Memories, which I think is a great title. And anyway, I bought these CDs, and to my shame, I'm being totally honest, I didn't know he didn't sing. I did not know he didn't sing. So I'm thinking I'm buying a singer-songwriter or something, and I get back, and I put the Dance of Death, another Plantation favourites, in the CD player, while I changed the strings on this sitar, while I, like deep breath, and this music played through my speakers. And I'm checking out this sitar, changing the strings, and that just absolutely consumed me. That music, it really did. And I was like, wow. At that point, it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life, and it wasn't like, yeah, that's what I want to do. It was like, I can't really describe what it was, but it was, and I was already been on the finger picking thing already. I was already learning to try and play like Burt Yanks or some of Jimmy Page's stuff, which I'm a big fan of his compositions, and so I was already trying to kind of learning that. But when I heard John Fahey, wow, it did it. It was like the status quo moment, but in reverse. It was like the negative of being in a big concert hall, but it was like, yeah, it did. It changed my life. That record, absolutely.
Wow. Now, when we covered this early on, because I was going to ask you about 2178, but you have, because we now know the kind of the significance, especially on the cover. Because I wanted to get to that. But you've got what, 4? Is it 4 or 5 solo albums?
Four CDs out. Yeah.
Is there anything new on the horizon solo wise?
Oh man, I get asked this question every time. I mean, I haven't done much solo stuff because the Dells have been sort of reasonably busy the last sort of few years, and again, before the lockdown, I was gigging, doing solo stuff and getting quite tired out, to be honest. I was up and down the UK, in Europe, and I was just driving, playing, setting up, driving, playing, and I was getting a bit tired of it. So I was actually, when the lockdown came, I was like, oh man, yes. I didn't want anyone to die or anything. Of course I didn't, to get ill even, but oh man, it was like, oh yeah, I quite like. And then the Dells started up, right when we recorded the album just as lockdown came, and yeah, I just, sorry, I'm trying to think. What's your first question? I do digress. I do apologise, but
well, no, I mean, do you have any solo work?
There's new stuff on the horizon.
Are you working on anything new stuff? Yeah.
Well, I've been working again the instrument, the John Fahey connection. I've been wanting to do an instrumental album for crikey, 10, 15 years now. And each time I've got it recorded. There's one already recorded. So that has got to happen. That has to happen. And I've got enough instrumental stuff for 3 or 4 albums, to be perfectly honest. But singing, I'm not a fan of. I don't mind singing. I don't mind singing backing vocals, but I think being a lead singer, I don't have, and I'm not being, I can't sing. I'm not fishing for compliments or anything like that. I just know I'm not a lead singer. I know I'm not. I don't. When I listen to my records, I think, yeah, that's pretty good. I like that, but to me, there's a little bit. It doesn't quite sound authentic, and I'm like, there's a little bit cringes at me sometimes at certain songs, and so. And I do enjoy singing, when I'm just doing it for me. But when I'm having to do it, I don't know, to try and earn a living, it's a whole different thing. And so then maybe, and also writing. When I wrote those 4 albums, again, it came very naturally. I was writing riffs, the lyrics. When I was writing lyrics, they came quite naturally, and I didn't have to work too hard because they just kind of came. But at the moment, I do write. I write, bits of poetry, and but I'm not. It's not something that I'm compelled to do. So, say someone like Justin, who he wakes up, he's writing. He totally is, and I know a few people like that. But with me, it's like playing guitar. I wake up and like, right, go and try and and I think it sounds a bit a bit a bit snobby, but I sort of I compose. You know, it sounds a bit shit, but you know, I love composing. I love writing music, and that's really that's really my thing, sort of these days, and has been for the last few years. So there is material there. It's just getting it out, you know. And funny enough, I was having a conversation with my wife today about how do people make money in music these days, really? I mean, because I don't know, you know, Spotify and YouTube, you know, we know there's no money in that, you know. And so it's always been a dilemma. Do I release a CD, which nobody buys CDs anymore? Vinyl, people buy vinyl, but you don't make any money out of it, you know. Um, so yeah, there's all these questions around it, and then it just becomes, I'm just going to go and, you know, play my guitar, and I'll do that tomorrow, and then I've got a Dell's tour coming up in a couple of weeks, so it'll be all right. And yeah, so but Scott, there has to be another album soon, you know, especially after my health scares and what have you. You know, it's I've got to get this stuff out there because there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it, and it needs to be out there.
Well, I will tell anybody who, you know, and I bring this up many times. If you're watching this today and you want to hear some amazing blues, buy Kris's music. Go online, buy it. Don't rent it. Buy it. Keep him going, because you know what? He's making music that is so authentic and true to himself, and that's hard to find these days. That's really challenging to find music like he's making. So we definitely want to hear more of it. You know, I'm curious, and you covered a lot there, so we're gonna piecemeal a bit of it together. Well, let's talk Dells, and then let's talk health and stuff. I'm kind of curious. It was almost 23, 24 years between Dell's U.S. tours, between the time that you and I were first in the same room in Phoenix.
Yeah.
When you got to tour the States on that tour, and then you were on the Bare Naked Ladies tour last summer.
Yeah.
You all covered a ton of ground, right? Did you get an opportunity while you were in some of the more southern states to take in, on a day off or anything, some Delta blues, or like to really get into the American blues scene at all?
I would have loved to have done. I genuinely, no is the short answer, but I would have loved to have done that Bare Naked Ladies tour. It was great, but it was one of the hardest tours I've ever done, because there's just one element. It was 40 degrees weather almost everywhere we went. It was like unbearable weather, which I'm not a sun lover. I turn to dust in the sun. I really do. I love it. My family despairs at me because I'm like, oh yes, it's going to be pouring with rain tomorrow and like really cold, and they're like, really, you know? I'm like, yeah, I love it. You know, I love the dark grey weather, and I do love the sun as well. I'm not a complete misery, but yeah, I do love, you know, nice. But to be cool, about 18, 19, 20 degrees maximum, that's my, you know, I don't know what that is in you know.
Well, that was a hot summer. I mean, especially last summer. The tour you guys did when we were in Phoenix, I think you guys started that earlier in the year. Of course, you were in, I think
that was in
Phoenix.
22. I think we came to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix, yeah.
But last summer, that was a hellish summer. I mean, no matter where you guys went, you were going to get the heat for sure.
It was, and sorry, go on. Yeah, sorry.
So, although you didn't get a chance to enjoy, you know, any Delta blues from those two tours, just being in the States, having been in lockdown, and everyone's sequestered from the world, any highlights that really kind of the place you visited, something that really made an indelible mark on you, or just an experience you had being in the States after the whole lockdown?
There's certainly highlights. I wouldn't say it was places that I went to, because I've toured the States, you know, quite a lot over the years. Since I was 19 was the first time come to play in America with the Godfathers, and but there were certainly highlights on that Bare Naked, like, you know, getting up. I used to they used to get me up and play a song with them. The Township of King, it was called. It was like a picky thing, and Kevin, the guitar and keyboard player, he's like, "Why don't you come up and play it?" I'm like, "Really?" And it's like, and they every night they used to introduce me, and then we've got Kris from Amitri coming up, and they're big, and it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful, Play this gorgeous song that Kevin wrote, and so that was all right, and it was kind of every night, and then and we'd do our set, and it was so brilliant because there was no real pressure on us, It was like people were sort of milling in and getting their seats when we was on, and we had a ball when we was playing. We really did. It was just like the heat was absolutely unbearable, but for that 40 minutes we was on stage, it was just wonderful. But I'm just trying to think of the. I mean, actually that wasn't that tour, was it? That was on the 22 tour. I was just saying, doing the Jimmy Kimmel show was pretty exciting. That was a good one. But yeah, I'm sure when I finish this interview, I think, oh damn, yeah, there was that thing there. But I can't think of anything offhand, because as I say, I didn't go anywhere because I couldn't walk anywhere because I would just melt in this.
Well, I mean, if it was, for any fans of Justin's who follow his blogs, I mean, you get a very descriptive analysis of American weather during yeah. He has a way with describing things to a T.
He does, yeah.
I mean, nobody expected really, through lockdown for there suddenly be I mean, Fatal Mistakes came out of nowhere for most people. And it certainly fed the souls of fans. When it came out, we were still, people still weren't really traveling, and it was just such amazing, incredible music. And you guys have been on a tear the last few years. Like you just had a big shows with on the Simple Minds tour. I think you got to go. You were in Dubai? I think you played. Was it Dubai?
Yeah, we went to Dubai. Yeah.
Now, for someone who doesn't like the sun, that's definitely on your destination vacation list.
It's probably best not to mention Dubai. That was a bit the Dubai debacle, we call it. But yeah, it was.
We know now that Justin's going through a few things, but there have been, some articles and reports that there is new Del's music in the works. What can fans expect, and what kind of changes is the band making so that you guys can keep up this momentum?
Well, I don't know, because it's Justin and Ian run the show. They're my boss, and they're Andy's boss. They're Jim's boss, and there's talk of doing that, and there has been for a while, doing a new album, and actually Ian said to me very, very drunk actually on the plane, he said, "Oh, get in your shed and start writing." I'm like, well, okay, and so in all honesty, I imagine it would be more of the same, but you'd have to ask Justin or Ian, those kind of plans, because I don't know. I would imagine it's more of the same, because I think Justin seems to be, in a good place, even though he's in a bad place. He seems to be in a good place, if you understand what I mean. It's he seems to be better than ever. Certainly, I know he's always moaning that his voice, he can't do this or can't do that, but and I genuinely mean it, I think he's singing better than ever. It just seems to be the tone of his voice, his delivery. I do. I think he's singing better than ever. I really, really do. And long may that continue. So, and I think he will all the time that he's able to do that. And I think that will happen. So I would like to say 100% there's going to be new material, but I don't know. You'd have to ask Justin or Ian that one, definitely.
No, that's fair. Before we get away from Del's, because I want to geek out a little bit on guitars with you.
Sure.
You got the opportunity to join the band. You gave us some insight into kind of the tryout, right? The tryout songs. You get to perform these amazing songs, all on all these stages. Which is your favorite Del song to perform, and why?
Wow. Uh, there's one that comes immediately, and everyone's going to go, "Oh, that's because you get a big solo at the end of it." But it's Here and Now. I love Here and Now, but and I love the song. It's not just, you could take something. I would still equally love the song. I think it's just a fantastic song. But there's another song. I think we last done it in 22. It Might As Well Be You. I think is a great song. It's probably one of my favourite Dell songs. It's just a fucking great song. Sorry, but yeah, it's just a great song, you know. And I say, and that is just, yeah. I don't do anything on that really. You just strum the chords, but I love that song. But yeah, Here and Now and it's a big crowd favourite. And there's been some. Won't Make It Better. It used to do. That was another audition song that we used to do. But yeah, there's a few that I do I really enjoy to play. But yeah, it's just, as I say, it's just what I do when I play those songs. It's like it's almost like a part of me. You know what I mean? I know exactly what is required. You know, I call it. Well, I hope I do. I've never, I haven't got any complaints as yet. But yeah, I just feel it's because it is where it comes from and how Justin writes. It's just, yeah, I just know what needs to be done. Without sounding too big-headed about it. I just feel that way.